What is going on, SoFi fans? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today I want to give you a very quick update on what is happening behind the scenes with SoFi, the data points, and where it might be going from here. Before I get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. But getting right to it, as you can see on the intraday from Friday, started out a little bit more bleak, but with a little bit more positive momentum, ended up very much green. $5.45 is what it closed at. And I think in general, that's a very good thing going into next week with this positive momentum. So, as I always do, I like to give you what is happening on the secondary market and also dark pool transactions. So as you can see, this is the secondary market, over $100,000 transactions. And so these stand out when there is 2.36 million. And keep in mind, secondary market, that's basically what retail does trade on. So seeing these big orders is a very good sign, shows that big money is getting in. And I think this is kind of normal to what it has been. Over and above that, dark pool. Dark pool is a little bit hit and miss, but there has been a lot of big transactions happening. Usually, some people don't like the dark pool because unfortunately, shorts do typically manipulate that, and this is the exchange that they do usually make new positions or cover. So I'll give you a quick update in that regard. Once again, I don't think that there is going to be a short squeeze with SoFi, as I've mentioned in the past. Short score is currently 71, utilization is 83.27. Once again, if you ever do have a squeeze, you need this roughly at 100%. And as far as what shorts did on Friday, they did in fact decrease their position 828,000 shares, bringing the grand total to 96.26 million. Still relatively high, which works out to be about 12.26% of the free float. Cost to borrow once again has been going down, so 0.93%, very, very small. So again, I'm bringing this up because this is a good benchmark, not necessarily because it's going to squeeze by any means. So that is what it is. As far as this is the options activity that did happen on Friday. A little bit more positive action behind the scenes. So a lot of calls are being purchased, insinuating that people are very much optimistic about the future. And based on the actual volume, this isn't retail. This hands down is institutions increasing their position, most likely hedging their bets for the long term, or possibly also around their upcoming earnings, which is coming out on the 30th. So definitely very positive in that regard. And I found this very interesting. So SoFi did post this on Twitter saying it's definitely time to make a switch to SoFi. And that definitely is pretty cool that they posted this, because they gave a link to this. So Wells Fargo agrees to pay $3.7 billion in settlement with CFPB over consumer abuses. And 1,000,000%, this is absolutely hilarious that SoFi was able to really take advantage of their competitors' weaknesses and definitely kind of show their strength. Good attribute for SoFi. My own opinion, who isn't a financial advisor? So definitely a very good thing. One thing I also did want to bring up was this. So he is another YouTuber on that is posting a lot of SoFi content, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with Stock Goat. I don't subscribe, but definitely very much aware of him. He was posting some stuff on Twitter that, in my opinion, is very much wrong. So I just wanted to address it. Make sure you guys always do your own due diligence at the end of the day on a side note. But as you can see, SoFi $57,020 calls are expiring next week. So this was posted, clearly a lot of good attention, so 26 likes overall. And technically in the actual comments, a lot of people are just saying, well, what does this mean? Does this mean that there's going to be a squeeze? In addition to that, he does post this. So $60,015 calls are expiring next week. Once again, a little bit more popularity going on here. I did post in this saying that technically it's wrong, but once again, do your guys' own due diligence, because there's a lot of individuals that might not necessarily know what they're talking about. And once again, depending on this, because he does have, it looks like, almost about 13,000 subscribers. So the fact that he's really giving kind of misleading information isn't right. On a side note, so this is a typical chart on, or at least a layout for options activity. Calls, puts, again, I'm not here to go over the basic fundamentals of this, but keep in mind anything below here as far as calls is considered in the money. Anything outside of that is out of the money. So for instance, if there's 1 million call options that is expiring this next Friday at the $8 strike price and they expire, guess what? It is worthless. Does not do anything to the stock price. Zero, nothing at all. So if there's anyone out there saying that it does prompt a squeeze or anything like that, nothing. So that is something that you really need to factor in. Again, when I do bring this kind of situation up, as far as the optimism around that definitely shows that there's upside potential, but keep in mind, this does not influence the price whatsoever. It's a little bit more of a sentiment. And when it comes down to, for instance, the points that he's bringing, that clearly whenever these were created, that was the sentiment at the time. Maybe the stock price was around $15 at that stage back in maybe 2 years prior or whatever it might be. So once again, this does not really influence the price. For instance, if someone told me that there was 1 million call options that expiring this coming Friday at the $3 strike price, well, guess what? That is very, very interesting. That is most likely going to prompt a gamma squeeze. And of course, gamma squeezes are where market makers do cover the exercisable shares or upcoming exercisable shares. So definitely make sure you guys do your own due diligence at the end of the day. I just wanted to not necessarily call him out, but once again, you guys might know I like to call out incorrect information. Doesn't matter that he's a YouTuber, I could care less about that aspect, but the fact that it's wrong information, I wanted to bring that up. As far as the actual technicals, over the last little bit, things have actually gotten very much exciting. And as you can see, it's really kind of hugged the higher percentile of the Bollinger Band. And technically as well, it did break past that 100-day moving average. So a lot of good momentum, like I said, is leading into next week. Stochastic is still very, very high at 95, give or take. So I think at this stage in the game, there might be a little bit more consolidation going into next week, but that is very natural for the actual stock fundamentally, because you always want to have some good support levels and you never want to hypothetically have any stock potentially overbought for too long. So once again, I think SoFi has been very much undervalued for a while. So I think this is why stochastic to some extent is very excusable, but that might be coming in the short term, a little bit more of a consolidation, which again is healthy. Momentum, number of retail investors are getting in. So once again, piggybacking and enjoying this momentum that is happening with SoFi. But like I said, definitely something to keep in mind that it is above that 100-day moving average. So if it does consolidate, it might be back down to the $5.20 range. But of course, that might or might not ever happen, depending on what happens with the broader economy. So once again, a lot of positive things that is coming. As you can see, in my opinion, at least, depending if it can actually hold that 100-day support level, then hypothetically, it most likely will trade between that $6 range and $5.20 range until there is either a good catalyst to push it over, which aka might be the upcoming earnings, which again is on January the 30th, or potentially just broader economic fear to bring it back down, which of course might trade between that 50-day moving average and 100-day moving average. So again, that is what is behind the scenes and potentially where things might be going from here. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And if you do like my channel and support the growth, take a look at my memberships, link in the description below, or just hit the join button at the bottom of the screen. With that said, appreciate you guys watching. Let's all make a lot of money on SoFi.